Imagine these two characters in the same movie, working together as brothers. How crazy would that be? Today we're breaking down what that movie might look like. The story begins in Hawaii. A man nervously glances around, checking his surroundings before cautiously approaching a mailbox to post an envelope. This guy is treating a trip to the mailbox like it's a covert CIA operation. Just mail it online next time, sir. But the moment he steps onto the street, a blue van slams right into him. The scene shifts to a Marine officer named James, who's training his cadets to hold their breath underwater. One by one, every cadet gives up and surfaces, gasping for air like they've never seen water before in their lives. James is furious with their performance. This man woke up and chose violence against his own lungs, and his cadets are out here failing the one task he gave them. That's when he gets a call from the police. He's shown the body of the dead man. The police have ruled it a hit and run. James heads home and starts making dinner. He then casually tells his wife that Walter finally managed to get himself killed. Not "I have some terrible news." Not "Dad passed away." Just Walter finally managed to get himself killed. Like it was something Walter had been working toward for years and finally achieved. A lifelong dream fulfilled. This is when we learn that Walter was James's father. Father of the year, clearly. His wife asks if he at least called his brother in Oklahoma. James says he doesn't take my calls. 2 sentences in, and this family's already exhausting. The scene shifts to James's brother, a detective named Johnny. His girlfriend Valentina is packing her things and walking out on him. Johnny, a man who is professionally trained to read situations, looks at his girlfriend literally packing a suitcase and asks, "What's going on? Talk to me." Valentina fires back, "So now you want to talk?" She's completely fed up with him. Johnny apologizes. Valentina asks if he even knows what today is. It's her birthday, and Johnny had completely forgotten. No flowers, no cake, no card, not even a text. The man is a detective, and he could not detect his own girlfriend's birthday. No matter how much he begs, Valentina refuses to stay. She leaves him. Then Johnny gets a call from James's wife, Illa. She tells him his father has passed away, and the funeral is tomorrow. "We hope you come." But Johnny says he hasn't spoken to James in 10 years. He hasn't been to Hawaii in 20, so he's good. He'll pass on the dead dad. But right there in the bathroom, 2 men come up behind him and press a knife to his throat. Johnny can't even process his breakup in peace. They tell him his father, Walter, sent him a package. Where is it? Johnny explains he hasn't spoken to Walter since he was a kid. Whatever they're looking for, Walter wouldn't have sent it to him. One of the men pulls open his shirt to reveal a dragon tattoo on his chest, a sign that he's Yakuza. A fight breaks out. Johnny takes on both men by himself and beats them down. Then another man bursts in through the door with a gun. Johnny handles him too. And here's the thing. Johnny is casually sipping his beer the entire time. Like this is just a mildly inconvenient interruption to his evening. Then one of them knocks over his mother's shrine. That is when everything changes. Johnny snaps. He grabs the man's hand and grates it against a cheese grater. He finishes off the other 2 just as brutally. The lesson here is simple. You can threaten Johnny, stab at Johnny, and interrupt his beer, but you knock over that shrine and you are getting turned into a condiment. After all that, Johnny finds a photo of his mother. His father has been cut out of it, just in case things weren't already complicated enough. Back in Hawaii, Walter's funeral is underway, and somehow both the Yakuza and Mr. K's syndicate boys are also in attendance. Nothing says beloved father quite like a funeral attended by 2 separate organized crime organizations. Walter was a private detective who was connected to all of them. The man had more enemies than friends and still managed to pack the place out. Impressive in a deeply troubling way. James's cousin Nanny asks if Johnny's coming. James says no, but then Johnny shows up. Of course he does. The moment they see each other, they immediately start taking jabs at one another, arguing back and forth like they're at a boxing press conference and not a funeral. The priest has to physically tell these 2 grown men to be quiet. The governor, Peter, is a close family friend. He says a few kind words about Walter. Following Hawaiian tradition, Walter is laid to rest. Rest in peace, Walter, you absolute chaos magnet. Afterward, everyone gathers at James's house, the house that used to belong to James's mother. According to Johnny, James never liked him, even as a kid. James fires back. "Walter left my mom for your mom, and it broke my family, and I was just a kid." 20 years later, and somehow things between the 2 brothers are still exactly the same. Some grudges age like fine wine. Over lunch, Johnny drops the bombshell. He's not here for Walter. He's here to find out who killed him. He tells James that the Yakuza came to his house last night and tried to kill him. James gets angry. He knew Johnny couldn't come back here without looking for new ways to get himself killed. Johnny says he's not even asking for James's help and reminds him that James didn't help when Johnny Johnny's mom died either. James pulls Johnny outside. He tells him, Johnny hasn't seen Walter in 20 years, and now suddenly he's here to find his killer. You're just going to stir up trouble. It's like your superpower. Johnny asks James to trust him just this once, but James hits back hard. He says Johnny couldn't even find his own mother's killer. So now he's decided someone killed his father too. Angry, Johnny storms off to a bar. A man approaches him and says he didn't think even Johnny was dumb enough to come back here. He tells him Mr. K wants to see him. Johnny says hard pass, but the bartender has already slipped something into his drink. Johnny passes out and wakes up right in front of Mr. K. Johnny's been in Hawaii less than 24 hours and he's already been attacked, argued with his brother, and roofied at a bar. Incredible pace. Mr. K tells him the syndicate has a long memory and Johnny hurt a lot of his guys. Johnny fires back, you killed my mother. Mr. K's response? Maybe, or maybe not. Very casual about it. He tells Johnny to leave Hawaii immediately. His presence here won't sit well with his men. He makes it very clear. Go back to your home where you came from. But Johnny says, I am from here. Mr. K replies, not anymore. He marks Johnny's neck with his symbol and gives him just 7 days to leave. After 7 days, he won't be so polite. Johnny wakes up alone on a beach with no wallet, no dignity, and a symbol on his neck. Worst vacation ever. Meanwhile, James meets with a detective named Renard. He wants to see his father's police report, but Renard tells him he won't find anything in it. Nobody talks to cops in the neighborhood where Walter died, but conveniently, it wasn't working. Renard warns James that now he's got 2 badass sons looking into their father's death, but he can almost guarantee they're going to end up poking a bear that doesn't want to be poked. James looks at him and replies, I am the bear. Renard probably regretted saying anything. James collects Walter's belongings from the police station. Among them is a paper slip with several words written on it. Walter was apparently the kind of man who hid everything in the world except his location from a speeding van. Johnny arrives at Walter's house and hears someone already inside. A young guy is searching through the place. The moment he spots Johnny, he bolts. Johnny chases him down and catches him. His name is Pika. Turns out he used to work for Walter, doing things like hacking, tapping emails, tapping phones, basically every crime that requires a laptop and a hoodie. Johnny asks what the last thing Pika did for Walter was. Pika says Walter told him to get a job at a catering company, but he has absolutely no idea why. Walter was a man of mystery right up until the end. Johnny tells Pika that from now on he works for him. Pika did not negotiate his salary. He did not get a choice. James notices there's a bar with a camera right where Walter was killed. He goes inside and asks for the CCTV recordings. They flat out refuse. James offers money. They still won't budge. So James slides the cash across and says, the cash is for the damage. He gets the footage. Presumably, there was some damage. Meanwhile, Johnny discovers a blueprint hidden inside a surfboard at Walter's apartment because Walter was the kind of man who used surfboards as a filing cabinet. The scene shifts to a rally for Governor Peter. Nanny works as his assistant. Johnny calls her and says he found some plans with a government seal on them, but doesn't know what they are. Nanny says she can access the database when she gets back to the office. She just needs the 8-digit number written on the plan. That's when someone breaks into the apartment. It's James. Johnny asks what he's doing there. James says, the same thing as you. He shows Johnny the CCTV recording. The blue van had no license plate, and it is crystal clear. This was not an accident. It was deliberate. Walter was murdered. Johnny asks Pika for a list of past and future events from that catering company. The 2 brothers climb into a car, still arguing, and drive off. That's when another car immediately slams into them. Welcome to Hawaii, Johnny. A man inside the other car fires a gun into the air. James shoots him. Johnny jumps out and returns fire from outside. Then James, a fully grown Marine officer, climbs onto the roof of a moving car and leaps into the attacker's vehicle. Johnny yells at him to jump off, then blows up the attacker's car. James spins around furious. You blew up my car! Johnny shrugs. But I saved your life, man. Classic brothers. Can't even survive a Yakuza ambush without arguing about it. Johnny calls 911 to report the attack. Before we continue, please help us reach 1,000 subscribers by clicking that subscribe button. Renard shows up and informs them those were 4 Yakuza hitters they just turned into toast. He also casually drops that Johnny's not even a cop right now. He's a suspended officer. James hands Renard the CCTV video. Renard gives them a final warning. This kind of thing better not happen on his island again, or he won't let them off easy. Renard is going to need a longer vacation after this week. Later, Nanny fills both brothers in on what she found. The plans were for a property on the east side of the island, commissioned by the Robichaux firm. Marcus Robichaux is a big developer. Walter may have been working for him. James notices there's a casino marking on the back of the blueprint, which makes absolutely no sense because gambling is illegal in Hawaii. Something very dirty is going on here. The next day, the 2 brothers brothers head to the property. A Hawaiian community is living there. James asks who owns this property. The people tell him this land belongs to all of them and everybody is welcome here. A woman explains they're living there to fight for what's theirs, to protect their land. They know people will come to take it from them. That's why they're standing guard. It's a quiet, powerful moment. Right before Johnny gets a call from Pika, the police found a blue van on the beach. The driver was a low-level accountant in the governor's office. Someone dumped both the van and the driver into the water to destroy the evidence. Very thorough. Johnny looks at the list of all blue vans on the island and tells Pika to dig into Hayashi Imports. It was the only Japanese name on the list. A hunch. A good one. The scene shifts to a fancy event at Robichaux's house. Pika is already there posing as a waiter. Soon, Johnny and James show up dressed as waiters too. Pika immediately pulls them aside with the energy of a man who deeply regrets this plan. Stay away from each other. Together, you look like the Rock's twin sons. He is not wrong. Johnny spots a woman in the crowd and does what Johnny does. Starts flirting with her. It works immediately because of course it does. He learns she knew Walter. She had no idea he was dead. This woman had hired Walter to look into her husband's activities. And her husband is none other than Marcus Robichaud. Johnny just flirted his way directly to the center of the conspiracy. Meanwhile, James runs into a Japanese man whose business card reads Hayashi Imports. James, with all the subtlety of a Marine officer at a catering event, tells him he knows they misplaced a blue van. The man's face does something interesting. Monica, Marcus's wife, reveals she's getting a divorce, and without some leverage, things won't go well for her. Marcus is not the kind of man who lets people walk away. Monica tells Johnny it's not safe to talk here and to come see her tomorrow. Back with James, the Hayashi man gets philosophical and says, "The frog never looks both ways when crossing the street." He's talking about Walter. Cryptic, ominous, deeply weird thing to say at a catering event. That's when his phone rings and Marcus's men appear to escort both brothers to Marcus himself. Marcus tells them he paid Walter in full, even gave him a bonus. Johnny asks, "You hired Walter?" Marcus explains he suspected his wife was cheating, so he had Walter tail her. While Marcus talks, Johnny casually picks up a grenade from the table and starts tossing it in his hand like a stress ball. James spots a set of severed fingers on the table and makes the executive decision not to bring it up. They leave. Marcus picks up a photo of his wife and mutters, "Now what have you done?" A short while later, Marcus's wife falls from a building. She's dead. The answer to what she'd done, it seems, was find evidence against her husband. Johnny is furious. He storms straight to Marcus's house and starts fighting his guards. The guards quickly overpower him, tase him, and drop him to the ground. Johnny tells Marcus he knows he killed her and his dad too. Marcus calmly tells his men to call the police. Johnny is arrested. His investigation strategy of punch first, ask questions never has some flaws. Governor Peter shows up and says Marcus has dropped the charges at his request. Peter tells Johnny that Walter had a darkness inside him, a darkness that caused him to destroy everything good in his life. And that same darkness lives in Johnny and James too. But the two of them have something Walter never had. A brother. It's a beautiful speech. Very moving. The moment Johnny gets out of jail, James immediately lays into him. You can't just do whatever you want. Doing these things is not going to bring your mother back. Johnny starts swinging at James. At first, James just blocks his punches, the patient older brother. But when Johnny doesn't stop, James hits back. Hard. The two brothers fight like enemies. Really fight, not a movie fight, but an ugly, everything on the table brawl. James beats Johnny down hard and asks, "The fuck is wrong with you?" Johnny fires back. What type of man abandons his little brother when he needs him the most? You sent me away. But James says Johnny was going to prison. The syndicate was going to kill him. He saved Johnny by sending him away. It was the only way. Johnny says after his mom died, James was all he had left. In this fight, all their buried feelings come pouring out. Years of silence, grief, guilt, and anger landing in one messy parking lot brawl. James apologizes. He says he's Johnny's big brother and he gave up on him. If he could, he'd do everything differently. He asks Johnny why he's chasing this so hard. Walter wasn't any kind of father to him. Johnny says he never found the man who killed his mom, and now someone killed his father, so he can't let it go. Not again. And just like that, both brothers decide to hunt for their dad's killer together. It took getting roofied, arrested, and punched in the face, but they got there. Before they can move forward, James's wife loses it on both of them and demands to know what this is all about. She has been very patient. She is done being patient. That's when Johnny gets a call from Valentina, the girlfriend who broke up with him 3 days ago. She went back to his place to get her stuff and found a package that arrived from Hawaii. Inside is a thumb drive. Johnny tells her to bring the drive and fly out to Hawaii. Valentina refuses. Johnny somehow convinces her. How? We may never know. The man forgot her birthday, but apparently has the persuasion skills of a hostage negotiator. Johnny, Pika, and James pick up Valentina from the airport. Johnny takes the drive from her. They discover the thumb drive is a key to a cold crypto wallet. To open it, they need a seed phrase. 12 random words that only the account holder would know. James pulls out the paper slip from Walter's belongings. It has the 12 words written on it. Classic Walter. Hiding $12 million in evidence inside a surfboard. Writing the password on a piece of paper and then getting hit by a van before he could tell anyone. But right then, before they can even celebrate, gunfire rains down on them from a helicopter. They scramble to escape. Valentina takes the wheel, and from this point forward, she is the most competent human being in this entire film. The helicopter opens fire without any regard for the other cars on the road. Then a group of armed ninja bikers joins the chase. Because a helicopter wasn't enough, their car drifts and turns over. Valentina drives it in reverse. When she slams the brakes, two bikers crash straight into the car. One biker ends up inside the vehicle. James fights him off. Johnny takes on the other biker. Valentina manages to turn the car back upright. One biker ends up hanging off the side. She pulls the car close to the road barrier and scrapes him off like mud off a boot. James throws the other one out of the van, but the helicopter is still on them. Johnny fires blindly into the sky. James takes his time, aims carefully, and shoots it down. The helicopter spins out of control and heads straight for their car. Everyone barely makes it out alive. Valentina deserves a raise, an apology, and a very long nap. Pika finally accesses the cold wallet. Valentina looks at the data and says these are international wire transfers. $12 million moved through several offshore accounts into a single account belonging to Governor Peter. James and Johnny are stunned. It all starts to make sense. Marcus needs Hawaiian homelands to build his casino resort, and he needs someone who can legalize gambling. So he buys the governor for $12 million. Walter must have stumbled onto all of this while tailing Marcus's wife and paid for it with his life. The man who eulogized Walter at his funeral had ordered his death. Meanwhile, Nanny shows Peter the plans Marcus had drawn up. Peter promises he won't let this happen. How reassuring, coming from a man who just took $12 million in bribes. Back at the house, Johnny and James arrive home. James calls his wife. Her phone vibrates right there in the house. James searches for his kids. He finds them hiding in the bathroom, terrified. His son tells him they took her. James hugs his children. Marcus sends them a video showing that both Nanny and James's wife are in his custody. His demand, hand over the thumb drive in exchange for their lives. James and Johnny's response is efficient and immediate. They load their guns into a bag and storm Marcus's house. They take down guards as they push their way inside, one by one silently, without alerting the others. When the guards hear a car alarm go off and move toward it, they're all picked off from a distance. Johnny and James leave a trail of bodies behind them. Inside the house, Marcus notices his outside guards aren't responding on the walkie-talkie. The lights start flickering. The guard sent to check on the lights finds the pool filled with dead bodies. Johnny comes up behind him and takes him out. Marcus is down to his last resort. He sends Nakamura and his Yakuza to deal with Johnny and James. James charges straight at all of them at once. He takes them down one by one. Then he starts beating one of them with a hammer. Long past the point of necessity, Johnny has to physically step in and stop him, telling him the guy's already dead. James reluctantly agrees to stop hammering the unconscious man. Johnny and James free Nanny and Ella. Ella tells James to go. She says they'll get out on their own. She wants him to back up Johnny. She is calm, decisive, and absolutely done with all of this. Nakamura opens fire on James. The two of them go at it hard. On the other side, Johnny cuts off Marcus before he can escape. Marcus sneers. Killing me is harder than killing your father. They start brawling. On one side, James shatters Nakamura's bones and finishes him off completely. On the other, Marcus gains the upper hand on Johnny and starts taunting him. Did you really think you could stop me? You're just a mosquito. In a year, my casino will be built and no one will be able to stop me. Your father, you and James will all die for nothing. Big villain speech. Very confident, very bad timing because Johnny is smiling and he's holding up the pin from Marcus's own grenade. The grenade explodes. Johnny! James dives into the water to save Johnny. He pulls his drowning brother to the surface. Johnny survives. Governor Peter's arrested. Marcus is gone. The casino will never be built. The Hawaiian land is safe, and the two brothers who spent 20 years refusing to speak to each other walk away side by side. Walter would be proud, probably, if he wasn't also partly responsible for all of this.